week. We did stand up an EOC, which is now we're going to be building an emergency operations center. We had another design meeting today. In about 2 weeks, we'll be at the 30% design phase, and that's when we'll apply for the permits. And construction should take about 11 months once we get the permits. So we'll keep you updated on that as well. Any questions for me?
Council, any questions? No? All right, and that is on August the 8th?
August 8th, it's 6 p.m. It's at 304 First Street in Indian Rocks Beach. Everyone's welcome. We'll have some light refreshments there, and I hope to see you there. What we do is, it's a ritual. We take the retiring fire truck, we take some of the water out of that tank and spray down the new truck. And then we have the community, we get together, we dry it, and then we push it. It's in gear, in reverse, so we push it back into the bay and it's ready for service. And that goes back to the history of fire trucks when they were drawn by horses. When the steam engines were drawn by horses, when they would get a new engine, they would do the same thing. So we carried on that tradition for many, many, many years. So we hope to see you there.
And you're going to push that thing?
Yes, sir. I work out.
All right, Chief, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate the
Thank you.
today. All right, now we are on to item 5, which is the city attorney report. Mr. Moore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the last week, the city received a summary judgment order on a suit that had been filed in 2021, alleging constitutional law violations. The city and its individual officials in that were suit against them was dismissed. Judgment was entered in their favor. That remains subject to the possibility of an appeal. That's the present posture of that.
Mr. Moore, can you get a little closer to your
Sorry.
microphone?
Sorry, Madam Clerk. Just stating that the city and the individuals sued in a suit brought back in 21 concerning alleged constitutional law violations concluded with an order in the city in the defendant's favor last week. That judgment remains subject to appeal. We'll update you, of course, as that progresses, should anything further develop. Other than that, we continuing to evaluate some of the outflow from the legislative session that just concluded and Supreme Court session and how it influences some of the policies here in the city, and then working with your manager and clerk on those issues. Should any of you be attending the Florida League of Cities annual conference next week, I will be there presenting on a couple issues as well. And otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for the city attorney? No. Everyone's just too quiet tonight. I'm here. Well, that's true. Almost everyone. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mr. Moore. Now we're moving on to item 6, which is the city manager report. Mr. Reaper, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start off with the storm. Again, we were fortunate. Sustained very minimal damage. Staff was here. Started with sandbags on Friday, but we were here Saturday doing sandbags, and on Sunday just monitoring the storm. Happy to say our pre-made sandbags were distributed very quickly. We had enough made. We went through 1,200 bags and then made more, but we never were at a point where we didn't have bags ready to go when someone went to pick up. Staff spent the day driving around cleaning up the debris in the streets, but that was most of the extent of what we saw. We had times when the tide was up and the rain was coming pretty hard and water was getting in the streets, but that did drain out. I just recently was out on 18th where we have some sewer infiltration, which I made the county aware of, but those drains did get blocked, so I had to pull the manhole covers off, but they are draining now, so we expect the water to recede there. Plan is to prepare for the next storm. Hopefully we get at least a normal weekend, but we already have this skid steer in the lot to start loading up and stockpiling sandbags for the next event. Unfortunately, there's still some power outages in Bel Air Beach, mainly between 4th Street and 5th Street. There's about 12 outages, but when small distribution lines go down in Bel Air Beach, they're not exactly the priority for Duke Energy, so unfortunately it lasts quite a while. Hopefully they get their power back on tonight. all in all, like I said, it was the positive side was that residents got their sandbags for this season, didn't have to use them this event, so a lot of residents had their sandbags in hand. Some other updates from the code report. The lien at 107 21st Street was paid in full by the title company, and then we reimbursed the 25% discount that was offered after we calculated the insurance. And then as far as what's on my report, Spectrum has already started pulling their wire, so hopefully they're for wire to get underground and out of the way of Duke. Expected timeline is to be completed in September. And we were supposed to have the surveyors out today to start on the curb and gutter replacement. Storm delayed them, so they'll be out tomorrow, starting on 14th and 15th Street. And at this point, we have drafted the language for all of the ordinances that we're proposing, and the city attorney is reviewing them, and the expected timeline to present them to council is August 19th for a work session.
Thank you, Mr. Reefer. Any questions or comments for the city manager?
Just that your notation here says under spectrum on cables, expected to finish work in September. You see that it has over 50 cars that use those for equipment. Can you elaborate on that?
That's ongoing. That is, right now we're in the process of our utility consultants for it. They're wanting to put the conduit in like they did on phase one. They're being held up because Duke wants them to have in writing that they spoke to each resident that they're requesting an easement and got a refusal from that. So UCF is doing the legwork. They're very close. A lot of the leftovers, I think they have 11 left, that they're having trouble contacting because they're in LLCs. They cannot find the actual contact. We're doing everything that Duke wants us to this point, and then expecting that they provide another option. This is the answer when we have a large right of way, is the residents want the equipment in the right of way.
I'm just wondering, is this going to delay the project, cost more to the project?
It's going to come to a decision point. Either they're going to give us the requested, put the equipment in the right of way, or they're going to have to come here and explain where we're at and why it needs to be. So hopefully after we go through everything that they want us to do, we move forward with designing it to be in the right of way. Everything, to my understanding, with the underground projects has been very slow moving in every city. We're ahead of the game, but yes, it's been a delay on that side.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the city manager? Yes, sir.
Yeah, the city manager quickly went over the situation that was occurring on 18th Street, but I want to give him special kudos for doing that. The water was actually shooting out of the manhole from the sewer system. Pretty nasty stuff down there. I would say 80% of the street was full. And as you got further down to the cul-de-sac at the end of the street, it was, I didn't go down there because I'm sure it was very, very deep. But special kudos for that Kyle. I mean, he went down there, waded in with something, and was able to clear the debris that was on the grates that would not allow the water to exit the street like it normally would. So that really helped out the people on 18th Street, so thank you.
Nice job. Any other questions or comments? No? All right, thank you, Mr. Reefer, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, now we are on to Ms. Rose, city clerk report.
I have nothing further to report.
Okay, well, I would like to commend you on handling the first year of Speak See. This is a new thing for you, and I appreciate you decorating and working with the city manager and impressing all of the barrier islands. It was a great event. They always talk about us every year. I hope it's always good, but they seem to like it. So also, thank you for taking minutes and 15th, 2024 City Council Budget Workshop Minutes, the July 15th, 2024 Special City Council Meeting Minutes, and the July 29th, 2024 Special City Council Meeting Minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda as proposed.
Motion is made by Councilmember Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is by Councilmember Shaw Elliott. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes. Now we are on to the regular agenda. This is item number 12. It's for consideration of the reappointment of Citizens Advisory Committee member Tim Hollick. Mr. Hollick, are you here?
I am.
Would you like to step up to the podium and reintroduce yourself to the council?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Hollick. I moved to Bel Air Beach about 2.5 years ago. I live on Belle Isle, a little bit further off of Gulf Boulevard, around the corner. I work in Clearwater full-time, and I'm just happy to help out in any way I can with the city, given the time constraints I have from my work, but I'm just happy to help out.
Appreciate you being here tonight, Mr. Hollick. Would anyone like to ask Mr. Hollick a question or give him kudos or? Well, I will. Thank you for stepping back up again. That's all for now. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Council, I'm going to need a motion to reappoint Mr. Hollick to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Motion.
Motion is made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lloyd Roberts. Mr. Banker, you have the floor.
I believe he's qualified to the board.
Would anyone else like to make a comment before we vote? No? All right. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Mayor, we just open the public comment if there is any.
Yep, you're right. Sorry about that. I'm getting way ahead of myself this afternoon. Would anyone like to speak? Okay, citizen comments are closed. Now, Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Gaddis.
Yes. And so it passes unanimously. And congratulations, Mr. Hollick. And again, thank you so much for stepping right up. And Mr. Moore, that's why you make the big bucks. All right, we are on to item number 13. This is for consideration of the reappointment of Park and Recreation Board member Patty Roberts. I don't believe Patty is here tonight. Is that correct?
I know her well. She is not here tonight. She's babysitting our grandchildren. So she was trying to make it. I just saw a text from her, but she's obviously not going to make it. But she's enjoyed the time she's been on that committee and would love to continue.
Okay. All right. Well,
Motion to table.
that's just like it. Well, we have a motion to table this vote. Would anyone like to second that? All right, motion dies. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Please remember you are addressing the council, not Ms. Roberts. Would anyone like to speak? Nope. All right. Citizen comments are closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to reappoint Ms. Roberts to the Park and Recreation Board.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Councilmember Shaw Elliott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Roberts. Ms. Shaw Elliott, you have the floor.
Well, obviously, the family has shown a tremendous commitment to our community. She served us well. She's come up with some great ideas and has lots of enthusiasm. So I ask for her support in continuing this role.
All right, thank you. Would anyone else like to comment?
I just, I believe that the past practice, though, if you're not here for a reappointment or to be put on the board, the boys table it to the following one.
That's not, I don't think that's necessarily true. I believe we did pass some reappointments recently, and at least one was not here. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. And unless, well, we tried to table it, it didn't work out, so it's on the floor now. Any other comments? No? All right. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Gaddis.
Yes. All right, so Mr. Roberts is in, and Mr. Roberts, if you don't mind, whenever you get on, would you please congratulate her? Would you tell her we all said thank you for serving our city? All right, now we're up to item number 14. This is for consideration of the reappointment
very important to volunteer and to keep the beauty of our city and the semblance of our city. So I ask that you read it.
Thank you very much. Would any council members like to ask any questions or make comments?
Thanks for your 10 years.
Absolutely.
Show you the scores? No.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Ms. Conway. Is Mr. Gatlett here tonight? I thought I saw you back there.
Council, Tony Gatlett, 2228 Denava Drive. We're in our 8th year here, and just happy to serve the city in whatever capacity that I am capable of. Any
Thank
questions?
you. Would anyone like to make a comment, Mr. Gatlett?
Thanks for your time. One of the most generous time-hard guys I've ever known.
Is this being recorded? Is this being written down?
It's public record, sir.
And eggs are very expensive.
No, I'm just kidding. But I appreciate you being here tonight, and thank you for stepping up. All right, and also, is Mr. Mariano here tonight? No? Okay, since Mr. Mariano is not here, let's go to citizens for comments. What I'm going to do after the citizen comments, I'm going to call for a motion just to bring all three in under one single voice vote. And if that's okay with council, we'll just move forward that direction. Would anyone in the audience like to speak?
Real quick, I believe I saw Mr. Mariana cleaning up some debris in his yard on the way here. So,
Okay. Thank you very much.
welcome.
Any other citizens like to speak? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to reappoint Ms. Connery, Mr. Gatlett, and Mr. Mariano to the Board of Adjustments. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion is made by Councilmember Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is made by Councilmember Roberts. Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
All proven and qualified, let's vote.
Anyone else like to make a comment? That's all right. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott,
Yes.
and Mayor Gaddis.
Yes. So it's unanimous. Congratulations to all three, and thank you once again for stepping up. Greatly appreciate it. Board of Adjustments is a very, very important and sometimes very hard job to do. So thank you for all you do. All right, now we are on to item number 15. Item number 15. This is for consideration to authorize the city manager to execute an extension to the memorandum of understanding for accounting services. Mr. Riefler, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. So, this is for the services of Andrew Tess, who is our financial officer per the charter. And he has had a memorandum of understanding original contract since began services in the end of 2018. And every year, it's an automatic renewal unless either side cancels, but every year is a 3% increase. This is just to make the council aware that the 3% increase will equate to the amount of $63,760 for the accounting services this year. And it's been reviewed by the city attorney, and I have the funding in the proposed budget and included the memorandum and the original understanding agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Riefler. Before we go to council debate, let's go to the citizens for comments on this topic. Would anyone like to speak? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an extension to the memorandum of understanding for accounting services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Lloyd Roberts. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Frank Baker. Mr. Roberts, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is the group we've been using for a while. They're very competent.
the city, under Andrew Pett.
Got it, now I understand, thank you.
All right, would anyone else like to speak on this topic? Any comments, questions? No? I believe we can do this with just a voice vote. So, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, Mr. Reaper, you are authorized to proceed.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, next up, item 16. This is for consideration to authorize the city manager to execute an extension of the code enforcement special master memorandum of understanding. Let's go back to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Attorney Susan Moore, who has functioned as our magistrate for code enforcement hearings since she was originally appointed in 2007. Every 2 years, the council needs to reappoint her position. We came up on 2 years in June 2024, and the city attorney has drafted a memorandum of understanding to cover her for the next 2 years. And her current rate is $175 per hour. That was increased in 2022 from $150 per hour to $175, but this year she's not increasing, so she's keeping the same rate. And I recommend that we reapprove.
Thank you, Mr. Reaper. Let's go to the citizens for comments on this topic. Anyone like to speak? No. All right, citizen comments are closed. We need a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an extension of the code enforcement special master memorandum of understanding. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Shaw Elliott. Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
I believe she's been a very fair magistrate. She knows our ordinances, of what we consider something like this.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the council? No? All right. We're going to do this one also, just a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Reaper, you are again authorized to proceed.
Thank you.
Item 17, consideration of resolution 2024-04. City Attorney Morrow, would you please read the resolution?
Happily, Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2024-04, a resolution of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving the consumer price index indicated increase to the city's solid waste collection and disposal rates, making related findings and providing for severability and an effective date. This has been a reading of resolution 2024-04 by title only, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Anyone like to speak on this topic? Yes, sir. Please come right up, Mr. Hanson.
John Hansick, 22nd Street. Real quick, kudos going around yesterday, Shepherd City. Appreciate that, I saw your Facebook post. For clarification, this increase is because of the tipping charge that the county's charging at their facility, correct? It's not our trash collector per se raising the rate, from what I read in the packet.
After you sit down, we'll have the city manager address that, because we'll go into council debate, but it's not a back and forth.
No, I understand, but I wanted to bring that out.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens like to speak on this topic? All right, citizen comments are now closed. What we're going to do is we're going to have a motion to approve resolution 2024-04, and then we'll go into debate on it. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion was made by Kim Shaw Elliott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lloyd Roberts. Councilmember Shaw Elliott, you have the floor.
Clearly a very essential city service, and one that we need, and one that we have looked at alternatives from our prior provider, and I suggest that we adopt this.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Mr. Reaper, would you like to address the question?
Certainly, sir. So our contract is set up, we use a consumer price index that is is one included as one of the documents in this packet. It's for water and sewer trash collection services in the United States. They take a year average percent change from from April 1st, 2023 through March of 2024. The percent of change was 4.96%. The contract is set up to cap that index change at 4%. So they honored our cap and only increased the collection services by 4%. The other portion of the increase is the county tipping fees, which they included the county's letter and explanation to solid waste customers, and that was a separate increase that totaled was 6.86% increase in the tipping fees. So they presented the calculations that, I checked all the math and broke it down, so they kept us at 4% for collection and then whatever the tipping fees. And it's written in there, whatever the county increases those fees to dump, we're gonna have to incur the cost. And then I did rate calculations. So last year we increased the rates, we increased them across the board by $8 by monthly rate. That put us just enough to cover the cost of collection. So naturally, with the increase this year, I did the minimal increase, which is $2.50 per unit to cover the cost. We have above and beyond the collection fees, we have a revenue coming in of an additional $3,797.52, and that does cover our costs of the billing services we use, Pinellas County Utilities, mailers, and they charge us for that service. So that's where the additional money goes.
Okay, just so for the record, the county went up much higher than the collection service did.
Yeah, the tipping fees went up by 6.86.
And that's, there is no alternative, there's nowhere else to take garbage, correct?
I'd have to check the contract.
I'm sorry?
I would need to check the contract on what it says about the waste facilities.
Well, I'm just saying in general, if we were.
That's the closest facility to the county landfill.
Okay, all right. All right, and then you said the other, the pickup fee was going up 4%, correct?
Yes, it's capped at 4%.
All right, one more time, what was the total per household that will increase?
For utility billing, a bi-monthly billing rate will increase $2.50 per household, and it shows in the resolution what the new rates will be. So my calculations actually show the old rates with the new rates. So our multifamily dumpster per unit, so multifamily went from $47.50 to $50 per unit. Multifamily can went from $53 to $55.50, and then single family homes went from $56 to $58.50.
Thank you. All right, do we have other council members that would like to speak on this topic? Mr. Baker?
6% for tipping fees went up. That's an awful high cost for a tipping fee. This county just spent, what, $315 million for a baseball stadium? And charges. I mean, it's something that I guess we don't have any choice, Like you said, where are we going to take it?
Exactly.
But I'm just voicing my displeasure, sir.
I hear you loud and clear, and I totally feel your pain. Any other comments? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a roll call vote on this one. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Unfortunately, yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott,
Yes.
and Mayor Gaddis.
Yes. All right, resolution 2024 passes unanimously. Thank you very much, council. All right, now we are on to number 18. This is for consideration of approving the draft
you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate the council's indulgence as I had requested this be placed on the agenda. I want to be clear about where we are in this process, what this is, and what I'm asking for. As you may recall, as far back as April, we were presented, I think it was April meeting, where we were presented with some correspondence related to the interlocal agreement between Bel Air Shore, Bel Air Beach, and some disputes that were emanating from it. The current operative interlocal agreement dates to 2003. It is in your materials. It's like a 3 or 4 page document, and frankly, I think some of the vagaries in that draft have created some of the confusion we have some 20 years later now. And also, communities evolve, and the realities on the ground quite literally have changed. And so, based on that, and as a way to resolve some of those issues, the instruction I had from this council was to work with Bel Air Shore to see if we can't find a solution in the form of a revised draft. I met with your manager, I met with Member Banker, and a concerned resident on this issue. I've talked with their town attorney, and what is before you is just a proposed draft. This has not been presented to another community or any other body. This is presented to you tonight for some consensus direction. I'm not looking for a vote. I'm not looking for a final approval. The document may change once other people have an opportunity to look at it, but I want to make sure before I present this to anybody else that, one, my client has seen it, and two, that it addresses your concerns, and if there's anything that you as a consensus feel should be changed about this, that I get that direction now, rather than work through a document and then learn later that at no point would you have supported some of the contents of this. Much like with the sign code, this is a situation where I took a crack at it with some guidance on general boundaries or guidance, but I want to make sure that I'm capturing what you're after. And so what's been put before you, let me just walk you through the document. It is 9 pages, and you've had it for a little while, but I do want to give you a little exposition of how this differs. The 2003 agreement has some general pronouncements about the history, but it lacks detail. This approach attempts to set out not just where are we now, but how did we get here. Going as far back as 1944 and the deeds that were at issue and the language in those deeds and the evolution of those transfers. It identifies the lots specifically by address and parcel number, and gives the history of the language in those deeds. And what it calls for is based on the responsibilities of those parties under the deeds, it addresses a series of issues, beginning with one, accepting the history of it, in the context of that. There's never a question of how did we get here, which was part of the confusion from the 2003 agreement, I think, and the imprecise language it used. The second, it contemplates, and again, I welcome your direction on any one of these. It contemplates a survey and demarcation of northern and western boundaries, and I think that language could be improved, but to say like this is where the lots start and stop on the northern and southern limits, so there's no question on am I on a neighboring property, am I on the lots as they're contemplated here. It addresses the beach and bathing use such that the city and its residents would have the same use of the beach to the same extent that the town and its residents do. It addresses pedestrian access. It contemplates some of the current arrangements that may have not, whether or not they were explicitly addressed in the last agreement, it is the custom and practice between the parties to do certain things, and this tries to document them. For example, when our city is cleaning our beaches, it's my understanding we use our equipment to go into those lots as well and clean the beaches there. Contemplate will continue to do that, but also some remuneration for that. Contemplation of, we put in parking facilities. Those are used by both cities and to a greater extent by the town in terms of the intensity of that use in the form of contractor vehicles and the like. So trying to capture some of that, and just different management or administrative issues that have come up over time, trying to ensure there's shared expectations and avoid any further misunderstandings as it relates to parking spaces, parking access. One of the issues that did come up was guest permits. This does away with the guest permit. That, of course, doesn't prevent you from moving your vehicle there and just having your guests park on your property if you have a guest in need of that, or having them use your car while they're doing that. But it's your car that should be going there. Everything is spelled out with a clear heading, leaving nothing to chance or searching. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think a lot of it is self-explanatory. Again, I welcome truly any feedback from this council on this draft and anything that you think needs to be addressed before I transmit this with the communication that the council is at least generally
attorney explain in his words, I don't understand the dadgum thing about what they want from us in an interlocal agreement. That's what I'm here for. How is this going to affect us? And it's not just council, it's the residents of the city that have an input in it.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know what the time frame is in having to resolve this, but this is, in my opinion, in the nearly 10 years I've lived here in this city and served on the advisory committee, my concerns as a citizen in serving. We went through the big brouhaha with the umbrellas, and that's still a thorn in everybody's side. So, you haven't told me, and certainly I don't think anybody else here would disagree with me when I say, I don't know what they're asking for in plain English. So that needs to be clarified before you all go any further.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Would anyone else like to speak? All right, council, I'm going to, we're going to go in, we're going to discuss this and probably answer a lot of Mr. Hanson's questions, but before we go into discussion, I'd like to just go ahead and get a motion to approve the draft interlocal agreement and give City Attorney Mora authorization to continue moving ahead with drafting this document and beginning negotiations with Bel Air Shore. Do I have a motion?
I would consider that motion subject to our further discussion. It is an excellent first draft, and I support the concept of revising the interlocal agreement. But we're not going to send this draft to the other side. I think we'll still have
Absolutely not.
further discussion. I just want to clarify that. Subject to that, I would second that. Second or first.
You're making the motion.
I'm getting fuzzy brain, so excuse me. It's a good evening.
Would anyone else like to make a second?
Mayor, if I may, I do want to be clear again about a few things. I have been in contact with their town attorney about this process. Neither side has made direct asks beyond the correspondence exchange earlier this year. Correspondence exchange by way of reference again. At the time of the correspondence, we demand that we provide them funds, payment for litigation costs they incurred, which we refused to do to this point, and also to address parking permitting issues for guest permits. And that was the totality of the issues they were trying to address at that time. And they said, and they made those asks with reference to this agreement. This agreement is an attempt to incorporate the feedback and the concerns of the citizens of Bel Air Beach, and purely those of Bel Air Beach as I understand them. Again, I welcome feedback from the citizens and the council alike. For example, as it relates to the concern about umbrellas and the use of the beach, the language that I have put in this draft presently states that and forgive me, I want to get to the city's residents and property owners shall have the right to use the lots to the same extent and nature as residents and property owners in the town. The town further agrees to present to its commission any ordinances or legislative enactments necessary to ensure its code of ordinances remain in alignment with this. So it's an idea of making sure that whatever rights they have on the beach, we have them too. That's one example. And again, this was based on feedback. I fully recognize there is room for improvement in this draft. Anything we do can do better. I welcome your feedback. And so what might be more appropriate procedurally is just to have that discussion. I don't know that I need a motion right now and say, and authorize me to, whether at the conclusion of that discussion, see whether it's better for me to come back with a revised draft, for me to, whatever you folks want to do at this point.
Well, we have a motion right now on the table. Does anyone want to second
This was not offered tonight in an attempt to hastily advance this topic. In April, I committed to you that I would move forward to find a solution or work towards an amicable solution with the town of Bel Air Shore on this issue. And often when we have those kinds of esoteric commitments, it goes into the ether like, oh yeah, it's getting worked on, it's getting worked on. And this was an attempt to show you it's been worked on, we're moving forward, we're prepared to have that discussion as a community. I wanted you, the council, to have an opportunity to see this, have it presented publicly. There is no haste here. I have made the town of Bel Air Shore's attorney aware that I had a draft, that he didn't need to go about drafting something else. I've got something together that I'm putting before my client. So there's not, I don't believe at this moment, a race to exchange forms, if you will. This was not offered in an attempt to hastily advance this, just in an attempt to meaningfully advance it.
And whenever I saw this come up on the agenda, the way that I saw it was, well, this is pretty close. It's going to get beat up a little bit. There's going to be some amendments to the motions, and then we'll hand something off for them to look over, and I fully expect them to try to change it. What I would do at this time is I would entertain a motion to table this. Motion is made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second? Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any opposed? All right, good. All right, so we will, Mr. Reaper, get us on the calendar and set us up for a work session to review this.
Would you like this on a separate night than the 19th where we're doing the code?
Yeah, for only this all by itself.
Okay,
All right.
we'll set it now.
All right. Let's see here. Now we're moving on to item 19, which is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? No? All right. Now we're on to item 20, which is council comments. I'm going to start off tonight with Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, sit back. First, I want to thank two residents, Deborah Moore and Amy Biscoy, for contacting me about the sheriff's budget. Well, I mentioned this last year during budget meetings. This year, I did a study which showed and confirmed those two residents' complaints that we were subsidizing Bel Air Shore's deputy because of the use of time Bel Air Shores was using the deputy. After bringing this to the floor last month to the deputy, information by the city manager was found those residents were correct. We will now save over $24,000 per year. We're receiving a $48,000 credit of overpayments in the last 2 years from the sheriff's department. So I really want to commend those two residents. On flood insurance, in the National Flood Insurance Program that most of the residents use or have the only avenue for flood insurance, many residents believe, as I, that we are not giving them proper discounts noted in 2.0 of the NFIP. I went to Rick Scott's office now 1.5 years ago on this issue. While some progress or noted discounts were not being given, over 14 states have entered a federal lawsuit over this. Last year in June, Senator Scott's liaison that was working with me on this contact with me with FEMA and the NFIP now refused to discuss this any further because of the pending lawsuit which Florida and our Attorney General jointly entered into with the other 14 states. Beginning in May of this year, I saw the status of the suit, and after 8 weeks of continuously calling and emailing them, the AG office wrote back on July 25th. Dear Councilman Banger, while the court denied our motion for a preliminary injunction, the court also denied the federal government motion to dismiss. As such, we are continuing to litigate our legal challenge. It is difficult to estimate when we will get a final decision in the case. So we'll just keep paying the premiums, I guess, until somebody makes a decision. So I will now start attacking the Attorney General of the United States on this matter, addressing him. On the lots, I had 15 points I want to discuss tonight. On the interlocal agreement, simply what does Bel Air Beach get out of an interlocal agreement with the town? Simply, it hasn't really lived up to the existing local agreement. What benefit is it to us? We are the beneficiary. They are the trustee. The deeds clearly say those lots are given to property owners east of Dock Boulevard. up prohibiting our egress and regress. Completely doesn't mention that in the deeds. I can't go into those lots after dark. Nowhere in the deeds does it say I should be restricted. Okay, if I want to go fishing at 5 o'clock in the morning, I should be able to park my car. We're now getting residents that are being ticketed for parking their cars there after dark. All violations of the deeds. Furthermore, they've erected signs. There should be no signs erected or anything in these lots without the consent of the license holder, which are the people of the Bel Air Beach. So I have a lot of problems with these lots because there's no penalty clause in any of the interlocal agreements. The people that don't follow this interlocal agreement. So I'm going to have a hard time accepting anything unless it completely benefits the people of Bel Air Beach. Moving on. I further had a meeting with the constituents regarding a tower in a residence yard. I further had a discussion with aides of Senator Scott and Senator Rubio, light signs, which deal with the FCC. This has been going on now for 4 months. They put together a meeting with General Counsel of the FCC, and I will be putting this issue on our next workshop agenda, especially with a number of ordinances under review. Again, I thank God for keeping this island pretty safe over the weekend. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Up next is Councilmember Shaw Elliott.
Well, I wanted to give congratulations and thanks to the entire legal team in obtaining a summary judgment. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, that is a major and complete victory. And I don't know the matter that it relates to, but I can speculate, and I think it's a really good thing to put behind us. And so congratulations on that. And I also wanted to thank and congratulate Mr. Riegler and his whole team for how they dealt with us over the weekend. What really was presented as something that might have been more minor ended up being a rather
go back.
If you don't like the 48,000 we got back, we can object to it.
If you would like to speak.
I got it done in 24 hours.